Welcome back to my channel. Today I am standing here in the middle of my garden because I am so interested in this plant, and I had planted it a while back and it had grown profusely, and then I did chop it down completely down to ground because it was so profuse that I wanted it to start again. And this is the first time in a year it's picked up and it's flowering again, and it's called the Primrose Jasmine. Now the thing about the Primrose Jasmine, as you see, it is a rambling vine, because as we've seen so many jasmine, it does have that vine structure. Now if you look at this, look at the way it rambles down, and they grow very, very long. And what most people use the Primrose Jasmine is for hedges, for pergolas, because you can trail them up, or you could even use them on fences. And when it does flower, this beautiful yellow color comes out, and then you do get a sweet fragrance. Now the thing is that it is a fast growing vine stroke perennial evergreen shrub, and it does attract butterfly and birds. So welcome back to my channel. My name is Alice and I'm the Red Soil Gardener, and I'd like you to actually be with me with this plant, and we're going to learn how to propagate, which is so easy, very, very easy. Let's try to understand this plant. So now the thing about this Primrose Jasmine, it does like a full sun, and if it does get in a position that it has full sun, it'll bloom and bloom and bloom. But it can also tolerate partial sun, but maybe you won't get as many blooms, but it will still bloom. Now the thing about it also, which makes it a really good garden plant, it is drought tolerant. But as it starts, if you do get it, do water it regularly, moderately. But once it does take over, you don't need to supply so much water to this plant. Now again, as I said, the thing about this plant, it does grow profusely, and all this foliage, as it reaches to heights of almost 6 to 10 feet, they drop down, and then you get again the flowering, the abundance. But what happens is that you have to be careful, because what happens is in the interior, because it doesn't get that much sun, it does get a bit scraggy. So always pay attention to that. And when it does get scraggy, you need to go in there, prune it down a bit so it all starts again. Once you do have this plant, and it's got such beautiful flowers, and some of them actually, if I can snip, look at that, it's actually a full flower, and it's got so many lovely petals. And what happens is that if you look at the leaves, it does have these lovely oval 3 leaflet. And look at that, isn't that stunning? So once you have planted your Primrose Jasmine, is that in these temperate climates, in the northern hemisphere, the blooming season would be spring up to summer. Now the thing is that if you're in the tropics, as we are here in Kenya, sort of in the equatorial region, you'll have it blooming all the time. So I have been so lucky with this plant. The thing about it again is that if we go back to pruning, is do prune it and tidy it up. And then once every maybe 3 years, you just cut it right down to its base and let it spring up again. Because also you must understand, as it grows so profusely, what happens with this particular plant, and in garden language we call it layering, as soon as this vine does touch the ground, what happens is it starts producing roots, so you will get another shoot coming up. And so if you don't want it to be really, really congested, is just try to prune it so you don't get it taking over your garden. So why don't we just go to my propagation table, and I'll just show you how to do a quick propagation, which is just a stem propagation, and it just picks up like that, and you can also propagate this plant in your garden. So here we are at my table, and I will show you exactly what we'd need for this propagation. So I'm just going to move this aside. Now what I did was that as I was balancing in that garden with my Primrose Jasmine, what I've done is I've taken some cuttings here, like that. So what I'm doing now is a simple propagation using a stem. And what I'm going to do is actually remove our lovely oval shaped leaves. And then what I'm going to do is I will snip the top. Now, this is just a simple propagation. All you need to do is I'm going to just minimize this to about here. So I'm just going to cut directly below the node because that's where the rooting is going to take place. And with this plant, all I'm going to do is I'm going to just remove these other ones here. And I'm just going to simply plonk it in the soil. So what I'm going to do again is do exactly this, is remove these leaves at the base, and also I'm just going to do my cutting just there, just behind the node, and I'm going to remove these ones. And with this, again, I'm going to just put it. And then again, the last one, remove from the base, and also, here we go. And then I'm going to snip the top, just like that. Cut it just underneath the node, and again, take it and submerge the node in the soil, just like that. So that's the basic thing. Now what I've done, I'll put this one aside, and these are some of the ones that I did play around with and did do a propagation again, and I've actually left it in here and they're producing their flowers. So what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to move it into a bigger pot, both of them, and another one is here, which I did propagate, and you can see they've really grown quite tall, is once we empty it, put it in here, and then later introduce it into a bigger pot. And with that, I'll introduce it into my garden, somewhere where I want to see drama. I want to see those chandeliers of yellow. So what we're going to do is, let me take this here, and we're going to empty them out. I want to see how the rooting went on. So I'm going to just tip it over. Here we go, look at that. Now this is just a simple propagation using the same technique as I've showed you. And look at that rooting, beautiful rooting. What I'm going to do with this is I'm going to just take it and put it on the side, because we're going to grow it in the pot. So I'm just going to put it here. And you see now in Kenya is that we do have 2 blooming seasons in the year. We have January, February, and then we have September and October, and then straight after that we get again our rains. But this is the blooming season for our lovely Primrose Jasmine. So I'm going to do exactly the same again with this one. I'm going to tip it, and this was again a propagation that I did. And again, I'm going to put it in here into my lovely container. And then we're going to watch it grow. I had watered the container before, and I'm not going to put any more water because I think it's quite good. I mean, it's got enough water to keep it going. And then, as we mentioned earlier, is that once it does settle, you just keep giving it a little less water because it is drought resistant and it does cope really well in a drought situation. But look at that, how beautiful. I just love this plant, and I love that brilliance of that color. And could you imagine, once it does come full, I'll just put it somewhere in my garden, and every day I will see that during the blooming season. So thank you so much, fellow gardeners. Thank you for actually joining us on this channel, and do go and get yourself a Primrose Jasmine, because once it does get full, and from every single node you will get a yellow flower. So you can imagine the brilliance of it. And don't forget to subscribe, and also press that notification button and let your friends, your family, everyone know about the Red Soil Gardener. We do have fun on this channel. And don't forget, we're on Instagram. Do DM me, I always do answer. We're on Facebook, and also do write your comments on my YouTube channel. I'm always there to answer you. Thank you so much, and have a lovely day, and do get yourself one of these. Look at that lovely flower, and it's flowering everywhere. Another flower, another flower. Thank you, and bye.